Our next presentation is Concept Creation 2.0, Innovation for the Greater Good. Our speakers are Dave Lundahl, CEO of InsightsNow, and Kayte Hamilton, Director of the Innovation Center at InsightsNow. Dave, the podium is yours.
Again, thank you for joining us, and thanks for the organizers of the Lead Marketing Conference. Today we'll be discussing about how to apply behavioral research to elevate concept creation, basically the front end of innovation. And I'm really excited to be here today with my co-speaker, Kayte Hamilton, and we'll be talking about what we mean by the greater good and its application in behavioral research to inspire, foster, and guide innovation. So, anyways, I'm ready to take it away, Kayte.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. So as the Director of the Innovation Center, I am really excited to share with you how our platform can help teams through their concepting and their new product development initiatives. And honestly, it's always a pleasure to work with Dave because I learn something new every single time that we partner up. And I really hope the same is true for our audience today and that you are inspired with new ways to approach your research.
Super. Now, if you're new to InsightsNow, our mission is to foster and inspire and guide innovation for the greater good. That means to utilize our insights to help create a cleaner, healthier, happier world. And we do this by two different ways. First of all, we apply neuroscience through behavioral research. And today we're going to be showcasing some methods and techniques that we use at the front end innovation for concept creation, screening, and testing. But secondly, we raise the bar in insights delivery by providing insights, providing access to insights through our Innovation Center, and Kayte's going to be highlighting that as we go through our talks today. So Kayte?
Absolutely. So here at InsightsNow, we really pride ourselves on our efficiencies, and one of the ways that we do that is through the Innovation Center, where we have 3 different centers for discovering, identifying, and finding solutions to research questions that lead to insight sooner. In our Learning Center, you can download for free our thought leadership reports, white papers, videos, and other content about consumer and shopper behavior. In the Scoring Center, we have databases where you can access our behavioral scores, which you can download on demand to understand the behavioral impact of claims, ingredients that could be found on product labels, and other components that can be built into your product designs. And in our latest launch, the Testing Center is where you can design your own semi-custom research for rapid decision making. Also available through the Innovation Center is our instant chat feature, where myself or another InsightsNow teammate is available to help you navigate the platform in real time to help keep your team on track for your insight needs. And I always like to point out, this is not a chat bot. Kayte is going to answer you. So today's presentation is going to touch on 2 features of our platform, one being our Scoring Center. This is where you can gain the immediate access to those databases for identifying the InsightsNow behavioral scores for ingredients, supplements, claims, and benefits to make instant decisions about how to build and position products in ways which will impact behavior the most. These applications provide access to unique consumer behavioral scores that can be used to generate reports for product developers and marketers to know how to design and develop concepts and products that nudge and disrupt consumer behaviors. And as Dave said, our mission at InsightsNow is about fostering, inspiring, and guiding innovation for the greater good to make a cleaner, healthier, and a happier world. The Scoring Center assists teams in establishing those connections to cleaner ingredients and the right benefit associations to amplify your success in market. You will also be introduced to a few solutions from our Testing Center. We launched this new application a few months back in January, and we're on track to introduce even more solutions by the end of 2021. In this section, we have 7 different semi-custom research executions for you to choose from to help your team move along the concept journey. Not only do these solutions provide speed and value, you will also tap into our behavioral expertise in each of these projects to ensure that your team is making the best decision about development rooted in consumer behavior. It's not about likes or dislikes.
So our topic today takes us, as we said earlier, to the front end of the innovation process. And we found that it is this part of the process that has the greatest impact on decisions and success at the end. And in particular, we're focusing on what we call two different sprints. And one of the sprints is we call Find Your Focus Sprint, and the other is Create Your Concept Sprint. So we're going to delve into these two sprints today in our presentation. Now, behavioral research is different from classical marketing research, as it follows four basic principles that we like to call the 4 C's. The first is to start your innovation initiatives by defining what is the behavioral change that the consumers or shoppers that you're focused on must undergo to be successful, for your product to be successful, and then to work backwards to establish a strategy for how to impact that change. It's a different mindset. And this goes to the heart of innovation for the greater good, because it's easier to develop products that are implicitly recognized as delivering what consumers are seeking. And today that means products that are positioned as contributing to a cleaner, a healthier, happier world. Now, the second is context, and that is the moments of experience where consumers use or are exposed to your products. And now, for context is what primes consumers or shoppers to make decisions. And it does this by making their past memories, past experiences that are relevant, more accessible to their minds, so that people can make faster, easier decisions, and just how the brain works. And the third is to design products not so much for product features and qualities, such as thinking about product white space, but from the perspective that product qualities are cues, and cues that you can build into products to signal implicitly benefits that will be rewarding for consumers. So cues and context and understanding change are important. The 4th C is about how you do research, and that is to engage with your consumers by treating them as full co-participants in the steps of research rather than just being respondents. So let's delve into this a little bit more. Now, last year, before COVID, we conducted some concept creation research for the Lundahl brand. And this is a group in Turkey. And we partnered with International Flavors and Fragrances for this research. Now, IFF had received an RFP from the Lundahl brand to improve their line of sweet snacks, which were all about pure indulgence. And they were looking to improve their line to be perceived as healthy and indulgent. And the process, without behavioral research, typically brings, you bring your creative team together, your product developers, your marketers, to generate your ideas, to synthesize those ideas, and screen them down to a small set of actually written concepts. And then to finally, score these concepts by some process on the basis of such as how differentiating it might be in the marketplace, or how technically or financially feasible it might be to bring this product to market. Now, the classical process is what we call concept creation 1.0. And this changes when you apply behavioral research. Now, as you can see from the schematic, behavioral research at the front end has a number of points of difference, okay? And the first is that you can see that we've added this sort of finding your focus sprint. And I'll get into this a little bit more in a second. But this is where you develop your behavioral strategy, as I was talking about. Answering the questions, what behaviors must change in order for your new line to be successful. Secondly, instead of creating, instead of the creative abilities of just your innovation team, what Concept Creation 2.0, this behavioral approach is, it engages with your consumers as co-participants through something we call co-creation. And instead of the innovation team scoring concepts on the back end to select which ones are winners, this process actually adds some behavioral techniques. I'll delve into that a little bit further as well. And finally, since this is an agile process, I think what we're going to present is going to show that through these sprints are going to provide a number of different behavioral methods, and they may not all be applied at the same time because every project is different. So let's delve into these a little bit more. So in the case of this marketing, typically, there's a marketing brief, and this is an example of the brief that we got for the Lundahl project. And you can see here that, that they were focusing on Lundahl brand users, existing brand users, and what they're looking to achieve is a line of products that were not just indulgent, but healthy indulgent. So healthy indulgent snacking. Secondly, looking at then the, this idea of finding your focus. To understand what is healthy indulgent, we applied a behavioral framework that we call habit flywheel. And what this flywheel is that it's a metaphor. So the faster the flywheel goes around and around, the stronger the habit. That means people cycle through routines, using products, getting a reward, and then having a cue in the future that triggers a routine again. So in order to disrupt habits, you need to slow this down or stop the flywheel from going around. However, in other situations, nudging is much more important than disrupting. And this means nudging to make this flywheel go around faster and faster. So in fact, deciding to disrupt or nudge is one of the most fundamental elements that you need to decide on for your behavioral strategy. And in the case of this project for Lundahl, since their target is existing brand users, what we wanted to do is to recommend to them, what we did is recommend to them that they bring to market new products that are healthier in ways that will nudge continued brand use, because you don't want to disrupt them and you want to avoid alienating your existing users by bringing a different product to market. So this is done by not changing routines, but providing products with qualities that signal both healthy and indulgent. So it's essential that for the success of this product, you understand that if you're going to be focusing on existing brand users, you need to know what is healthy indulgence. And this became one of the key pieces that we did in our research project here. So in this case, we began to ask some questions, some behavioral questions, like what is the rewards or benefits that consumers hope to experience from this line of products? What are the qualities that product developers need to build into these products to signal those benefits? So to answer these questions, we applied a qualitative research technique called Playful Insights. And this involves a group of target consumers as co-participants. Now, Playful Insights is unique that it places the co-participants into a state of play using Legos. So we actually went to Turkey and work with groups. And the participants then go through a set of exercises to build Legos as models that represent metaphors for what is healthy indulgence. And we found that healthy indulgence is about freshness, it's about sharing, it's about being eco-friendly, it's about having great sensory experiences, but it's also about homemade or personal touch and, of course, pure indulgence. Then finally, to answer the question about the qualities to build into products to signal healthy and indulgent, we applied a behavioral technique called implicit testing. And Kayte's going to kind of talk to us a little bit about what that's about.
Thanks, Dave. So behavioral scoring involves a behavioral testing technique that engages participants through an online survey. This test uses an additional layer of insight into the time it takes for a consumer to make a decision. So it's time-bound. First, implicit is rooted in how fast someone responds, which is an opportunity for a brand to nudge current behaviors. In this healthy indulgence example, consumers were asked, is this concept healthy? Yes, this is healthy. It doesn't take any extra time to think about that type of response. Alternatively, explicit is a slow response. If this question was, is this good for the planet? No. You see there's a pause there, and we're capturing that with this timed engagement. Having the implicit slow response is an opportunity to disrupt current behavior and really have consumers thinking about their choices. Essentially, fast responses elicit an implicit response, which is an opportunity to nudge current consumer behavior, whereas the slower responses may be an opportunity for disruption. And as you heard Dave say, we were looking for those nudging behaviors with this example. Using that explanation or that guide as a base, here's an example of different ingredients that we have scored through this implicit behavior metric for the benefit association of being healthy. You'll see ingredients such as berries and peanuts are all at the upper end of the scoring scale. These ingredients will nudge a consumer into a healthy benefit. Scores that fall in the 50 to 60 range are positive connections that have an opportunity to disrupt the healthy benefit associations, meaning these ingredients such as elderflower or pepper or sesame are considered healthy, yet not as intuitively as berries and peanuts, which opens up your concepting options to new opportunities to consider. And those that score below 50 have more people making negative connections to the ingredients and benefits, and those below 25 are strongly disassociated with this healthy benefit claim.
Yeah, so we also included a different survey technique here into our assessment, and this was an implicit technique that to understand claims that could be potentially used and woven into these concepts. And so based on what Kayte was saying, the faster somebody responds positively to a claim, the better that claim is to nudge existing habits. And likewise, the slower the response, the more that claim is a disruptor. So in this case, verified non-GMO and high protein were found to be better to nudge than locally sourced or high in omega-3s, which I show here on this map. Now, answering these questions through these behavioral techniques that we've just shown provides us with the insights that we need to develop concepts. So in fact, the innovation team did not believe it necessary to bring in these groups of co-participants. They felt confident based on the research from Finding Your Focus Sprint that they were able to build the concepts from an innovation team. And what they did is they brought in a group of chefs, and we asked these research chefs or culinologists to create alternatives for each SKU from their existing line of products. And there was five current SKUs in this line that were indulgent, and they wanted to create alternatives to each of these that would be healthy indulgent. So they took the information and they created all of these paper concepts. And so this is an example of what the original, one of the original was, it's truffle fondue cake. And you can see that what we were able to do is look at, through our behavioral assessments, to determine what was working for that original product and what was working against it in terms of implicit information or information that came out of Playful Insights. And we were able to find the strengths and weaknesses. In addition, we were able to then apply some of our behavioral techniques to create concepts for healthier alternatives. And so this is an example of a healthier version, which was called a chocolate dipped matcha and citrus cake balls product. And so we did this for all 5 existing products in the line. So instead of them using just straight up some decision criteria to converge on what would be final concepts, we applied a behavioral screening technique to score each of the 5 originals against their respective healthier alternatives. Okay, so now we'll take a look at that. So this technique is something that what it does is it uses choice to select winning concepts from sets, and then to have the participants rank the winners from those sets against each other. And the result is some behavioral scores. I'll show you what those behavioral scores are next. These scores are what we call a tournament sort index. So a score of 100, which is the second column here in this data, a score of 100 is its average. It's selected an average against everything else. In the case of the Olala project, we paired the current SKU, the current original, with its healthier alternative here, and you can see how they compare original versus healthier version. And you can see with the chocolate cake bar, the original, that the triple textured dark chocolate and fruit cake bar was at parity, which is actually pretty good, given that these were current brand users. They're all used to utilizing. Some of these may have been their favorites, you know, in terms of a snack. So to come up with parity to have a healthier alternative was actually part of the success criteria we used. Now, not all projects are like this where you can apply a screening technique. Often there's a concept that is existing and maybe just 2 or 3 alternatives. So I'll quickly go through an example of a behavioral testing technique that we used for Tofurky. Now, Tofurky is a company that has, you know, a lot of products that are plant-based, and we utilize this to help them come up with some techniques. For some plant-based alternatives, deli slices. Now, first we had participants choose among sets of current category products. So we actually looked at the whole category of the competitive set. And we took the control, the existing product, in the mix of the whole category, went through something called a max diff to come up with the score. Then we had participants pick the winner from the control and 3 alternatives for Tofurky, for this new deli sliced product. And finally then we replaced whatever they selected, well, it might have been the control or one of the test concepts, and we placed it back into the competitive set and went through a second max stiff exercise. And we then compared the lift or the change in the concept selections scores against the whole competitive set. So we created something, a behavioral metric that we call lift. Now, how we create lift is just, as you can see here, for one of the alternatives with the plastic tub concept versus what the original was, the current, and we'll be looking at pre versus post when the plastic lift was inserted in addition to the control. Instead of a 9.6 max stiff score, we get a 14.1, which is a pretty big lift, which suggests in this last slide, it shows that there's a 48% improvement in lift for the plastic tub that was adjusted against the control. So this bottom line. So you see that raw lift is 48%, but we adjust it against the control because the control was sometimes selected, and so the prediction is that there would be a 7% increase when you use the plastic tub, but if you use the soft tray, which was one of the tests, you actually get a 36% increase. So this suggests that you could get a 36% increase in sales in selection in this category with the introduction of the soft tray. So it was that sort of way is helped for utilizing a behavioral techniques to select the winning concept. So back to you, Kate.
Absolutely. So this Tofurky case study was really developed using our concept scoring solution from the Innovation Center. You might have noticed on some of the slides we were highlighting the different solution for the components that built the elements for Ooh La La as well as Tofurky. And when we shared these results with their team, Erin Ranson, who is the Senior Vice President for Growth and Innovation of Tofurky, encouraged us to share her feedback, which she feels that the team at InsightsNow quickly queried audiences to gauge empirical and emotional enthusiasm for several new product concepts. The blended results between standard metrics and behavioral metrics gave them confidence in comprehensive prediction for consumer acceptance and helped justify investment for new manufacturing equipment and development process. Now, that's huge. One of the things that Dave and I get really excited about is that we aren't just making in-the-bubble research decisions. We are really amplifying and making efficient business decisions to help drive the bottom line. So that last example was highlighting a single solution. We do have 6 other ready-to-use templates for our concepting journeys. Concepting a new product development has its own life cycle, and our solutions assist research and development teams to help focus budget and decisions with efficient behavioral research designs. So if you need help filling in the blanks during your product concepting, consider idea screening for helping teams to narrow down from a large pool of considerations by using that tournament exercise that Dave showed us. And then concept scoring, as we just showed for Tofurky, is best for focusing the development from concept to product based on behavior metrics like that category lift analysis. If you need help filling in the blanks, Ingredient benefits and clean label scoring are complementary solutions to our current scoring center database, and that's for when it comes to identifying the ingredients and benefits desired for your concept. Once you have a product ready that's safe for consumer testing, we do have a home use testing solution available for quick turn testing with our primary shopper category advisors. These are consumers who have been pre-screened for being the decision makers and purchasers for specific categories. And then rounding out our current suite, before we go to market, we can assist with claims testing and message testing to identify the projected behaviors your team desires based on the communications and benefits you want to deliver. In all of these solutions, we supplement the answers that your team needs with our behavioral metrics for more efficient data, which amounts to more sound business decisions based on drivers of consumer behavior that you need to be successful. These are not generic like or dislike executions, and we use our knowledge of behavioral frameworks and that implicit-explicit test to guide your team to success. If you're curious to learn more about the Innovation Center, you are highly encouraged to register and attend this month's Demo Day, which is actually a week from now on April 28th. And we can also host you and your team for specific demonstrations or training to optimize how our platform will assist in new product development by capitalizing on those consumer behaviors.
Yeah, and I hope that this sort of discussion of what is behavioral research and how the 4 C's of behavioral research are applied to concept creation, has been helpful for you to think through, your projects and approaches that you take, applying, thinking about the behavioral strategy at the front end, thinking about what is the change in consumers. Do you need to disrupt them or do you need to nudge them in order for you to be able to be successful in your innovation, initiative? And how to build context into, as we did in this study, with, for instance, looking at the whole category as one piece of context. Or the cues, what sort of using implicit techniques to understand that sort of fast reactions to things, that you can build into products, and to utilize participants as co-participants like we did with that Playful Insights exercise. Oh, questions?
Sure.
I think it's turning back over to John.
Yes, thank you, Dave and Kate. That was really interesting and very unique. I found it very, I learned things I didn't know, and I'm sure our audience did too. So we do have a couple of questions that came in that kind of interesting. One, when is co-creation better than internal creation?
And that's a really excellent question, because as in the case of the Awala example I was showing you, they chose not to go into a co-creation to build their concepts. They felt that they had enough information and they could utilize the information themselves, utilizing their own creativity to come up with concepts, and then on the back end bring the consumer in to test and synthesize, determine which of those concepts is best. I think it's a matter of, like in an agile process, is continually asking questions. And if you need to bring in consumers to actually create, because if you don't have enough information on the front end, having consumers as co-creation partners, as participants, is a way to get really fast insights and to build your concepts at the same time. So it's an agile process. It's an agile approach to innovation, and not every project's the same. So if you have the information, the insights, and you have a great team, you don't need to bring them as co-creation. But other times, if you don't have the insights, once you get to that step, then it's a great approach.
Okay, one more question. I did not understand your lift metric. Could you explain it more, please?
Sure. So lift is a metric that looks at choice. So in the context of the whole competitive set. So in the case of the Tofurky example, it was actually, I believe, 9 different products that were competing. They were a combination of products that were meat products, and those that were plant-based meat alternatives in addition to Tofurky. So that's the competitive set. And so what lift does is looks at the current control, okay, and how well it does in terms of just choice amongst consumers, versus taking an alternative like one of the test concepts and then replacing it in the choice set and going through the whole thing, and does it improve your position? Does it increase choice against the whole competitive set? And that's actually what we call lift.
Okay, excellent. Well, that ends our questions. If the audience has further questions or would like to continue the conversation with Dave and Kayte, you can see their contact information on the screen. Again, both of you, that was excellent, and I'm sure our audience learned a lot.
Great. We appreciate so much. And I see that some other questions. Is this something we just can reach out directly to these folks?
If you see other questions, I don't see any other questions in the chat box, but if you see them, you can reach out directly. We'll give you contact information.
Perfect. Let's do that.